your two-time major champion winner, Missy Gannon, joins Tour Life once again. Missy, how's it feel to get that second one under your belt?
Yeah, feels great. Couldn't ask for a better outcome.
Take this as a compliment. I was surprised that you only have two. When I looked it up and I saw I was like, this is only our second mate. It just seems like you win. So you've won a lot of tournaments and it seems like big tournaments, but I was surprised. I guess that's my first question is, are we going to start rattling these things off now? What are we doing here?
That's the hope. My friend texted me right away and was like, well, you're the only FPO player that can do the Grand Slam this year. So, let's go. No, but, I think that, the Pro Tour Championships, I think, is kind of in its own category, right? Like, it feels like it could be a major with the qualification, but then, the format's kind of funky. So, I do think that I've won really important tournaments, but, to only have two majors is, I guess maybe surprising, but either way, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I think too, the other thing is when you do win tournaments, it's also tournaments where the field is stacked and the top players are playing well. So it's not like you walk away from it, you're like, oh, well, this person wasn't here. This person wasn't here. Oh, this person wasn't playing good. Maybe that's the other thing is I've seen you beat the best players when they're playing their best as well. And so maybe that's why I was surprised, but I was like, gosh, feels like you should have 5 or something. And maybe you will by the end of the year. Maybe you will have 5.
Maybe.
That'd be a heck of a season, wouldn't it? Okay, so this season, I think it's safe to say with how consistent you are, I think you're one of the more consistent FPO players on tour. You're not a roller coaster player where you'll win one weekend and miss cash the next. This I think it's fair to say that this season's kind of started a little slow previous to this tournament.
Yeah, we just talked about not missing cash, but I was sweating at the Open at Austin. I can tell you that. And so and there's the pride aspect of having one of the longest cash streaks currently. I think MPO or FPO. And so, I was sweating. But yeah, I think it definitely started off a little slow. I don't really have the answers as to why, but, it feels, I was trending upward, the last couple of events leading up to this weekend. So, I think it was just a matter of time to kind of just get back into the swing of things. And honestly, with the exception of last year, I started off kind of hot and, then that hadn't really been the case in previous years for me. So, to start off slow this year maybe felt differently since, the year before, but, I feel like I was always kind of like a late season type of person anyway. So, but yeah, I still agree after coming off a pretty great season last year, I felt like I was certainly kind of hitting the snooze button this early season.
So nothing this past weekend that you could really put your finger on of my circle one putt wasn't great at the beginning of the season, but now it's on, or
they're playing for more cash. That's why.
Is that what it was? It was just a bigger paycheck?
She saw that 16 G's at the end or the 10 G's at the end, and she was like, yeah, I like that.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I can't really pinpoint it. But yeah, maybe I'm on that Isaac Robinson track now. But no, I don't know. Yeah, can't really speak to anything in particular. I do think that a lot of my game was clicking this weekend, and it also helped for me that I basically threw one disc off the tee, with the exception of a handful of holes, but I was just throwing the Captain's Thrasher off of almost every tee box, and I have a few different ones that are slightly different stability, and so that really helped to simplify the game plan and not be able to overthink things too much.
So what about this layout, positives, negatives compared to past OTB layouts that you have from the FPO side?
Well, I mean, the biggest difference was that we played somewhat like two different layouts. The first two rounds we had an A layout, which again, I think it was only a few holes that really changed, but I feel like some of them changed significantly enough that it could certainly, require you to have like a completely different game plan. But yeah, I think that was the biggest difference is like after the first two rounds and then, we get into the weekend, we have to just kind of reset and remember that we're, now going to be walking a slightly different direction to get to the new tee pad for layout B. But as far as like the iteration of the course, the changes were there weren't that many changes, and the course itself was pretty similar to what we've played in the past. So yeah, it definitely helped to have some experience on this property. And yeah, I don't know. I think it had a great challenge of both distance and accuracy. And, there's a lot of water carries and a lot of OB. So, and then, we dealt with some pretty extreme wind throughout different parts of the tournament. So yeah, it kind of provided every challenge you could probably think of.
Now, we're pretty critical on coverage here. Mm-hmm. Fairly so, I think. And one of the things I absolutely despise is how fast they cut to catch cam to where you kind of just lose the flight of the disc. So it's very difficult to kind of get a gauge of like, oh, Missy's throwing a lot of flip up backhands today, or she's throwing a lot of turnover backhands. You mentioned that you threw, your captain's thrasher on a bunch of holes. Are you manipulating the angle? Are you having, based off of the holes out there, are you having to change how the flight shape, or was the course set up in a way where you could almost throw the same shot with the same disc on a lot of the holes?
I would say that a lot of the holes just kind of require that on our layout, require that sort of like pushing hyzer. And so that's just perfect for my captain's thrasher. But, I still threw it on like hole 12 tee shot. I go up the left side over like the little trees. And so I was throwing that a slightly more beat in one on like that like forced over flex shot. If I really went through it, I might be able to find a couple of different things, but mostly there are just a lot of pushing hyzer shots for our layout. So yeah, a little bit of manipulation, but mostly just perfect hyzers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did talk about this a little bit last week, how it does seem like this tournament was really the first one to kind of push the envelope when it comes to changing up the course throughout the week. That's something that I've been harping on, that we need more in disc golf, because when you have, a player step up at the tee and say, by the time Thursday rolls around, a lot of us have thrown every tee shot 10, 12, 15 times to where you really feel comfortable doing it. Where's your stance on changing tee pads? So the hole stays the same, basket stays the same, but maybe it's a different tee location, requires you a different shot off the tee. Changing baskets. So maybe it's a little bit closer to the water. Maybe it's tucked. I know hole 15 was it 15 or 14? The par 3. Well, it was a par 4, I think, for you guys every day over the water. Is that 14 or 15?
That's 13. Yeah.
Was it 13?
Yeah. This year it was 13.
Okay. Where they had the basket, I think, in the B position, which was like further to the right. So you have different tee pads, different basket location, or what we saw for the first time this tournament, they just straight up different hole. Hey, it was a par 3 yesterday. Today it's a par 4, and it's just a completely different hole. Where do you feel like is the right path for disc golf?
Well, I think for like a major, it's kind of nice to, instead of just being on a completely different course, like you think of like Worlds or whatever, where we're playing, maybe 2 courses, or, I don't know, but it's the same property, but we're having to adapt to a change, mid tournament. I personally like it. I think I like it better for a 4-day event so that it's not a completely different course, right? I like that we are again on the same property. It's just a few holes are either slightly different or, like you said, completely different. I like it. I don't know. I think specifically, I noticed it during practice. Kind of everybody was like kind of losing their minds a little bit because they're trying to remember what hole, what day. Yeah. But so maybe it felt daunting at first, but my strategy was my first practice round, I looked at every single hole and maybe didn't throw every hole or throw multiples on every hole, but I just made sure I could see every hole and understand which layout it was a part of. And then my second practice round, I only practiced A layout, and my third practice round, I only practiced B layout. So for me, I feel like I was pretty solid with my game plan, and obviously it seemed to work out for me. But yeah, I like it overall.
Yeah, I think just from a viewer standpoint, that would be probably the only reason I would shy away from a completely different hole, like changing a par 3 to a par 4, because it does make it challenging. Because if they had, so I guess it's hole 12. If they had hole 12, that epic par 5 every single day, it would be really like locked into my head. Like that was the crazy par 5, hole 12. But 2 of the rounds, hole 12 was just a par 4. So I think that's, from a viewer standpoint, it's a little bit challenging to kind of remember everything. And then also, one of the holes has to be better than the other. Right? Like,
yeah, no, I would
one better than the other. So why don't we just play the one that's better?
Totally. And specifically hole 12, I loved that par 5. I think that it looked amazing. It made a better use of, I think, the fairway leading up to that sort of island green. So that was probably one of my favorite holes of the weekend. And yeah, I would have loved to be able to play that 4 times for sure. So yeah, I can understand that from a viewer's perspective, and I can tell you guys and as viewers that it was definitely pretty difficult to remember exactly every hole and what changed and everything like that. So I can only imagine that it was a little difficult for viewers as well.
I think it'd be way easier to just move the basket around. That changes your approach so much. I mean, like they did on the next hole, the island hole, moving that one from spot to spot, closer to the OB right and then kind of closer to the OB way left. I love that. Then you don't have to change the whole same tee pad all the way through, and your approach is just going to be a little different.
Yeah, the only reason I like different tees is literally for weather, right? Yeah. Let's think of a hole that we all can remember, Jonesboro hole 1. Well, old hole, this is a bad example because they changed it all, but old hole 1 Jonesboro, where it's like that epic tee shot with the basket sitting on the hill, and it plays for MPO, I think it plays like 450, 475. If it's going to be like 30-mile-an-hour winds and it's going to be headwind, I would like it to be like a shorter tee pad option that they can literally change that morning and say, hey, we're playing the shorts. Because there are certain holes that just, obviously you can't do this with every hole because the wind's going to change, whatever. But I like the idea of having the ability to change tee pads based off of the weather, of where it's like, hey, this is going to be impossible. Everyone's just going to lay up. Everyone's going to get pars. Let's make things interesting. Let's move this thing up and see how people will play it. That's the only reason. But I'm with Yuli. I think the different baskets is really, really exciting. And I think they did a pretty good job of it on putting some pretty exciting baskets there on certain days. I would love to see more of it.
Well, and I know that you guys are golf fans as well. And I watch as much as I can, but I think that what seems like such a slight change on, say, hole 13 on the green, having the basket way left versus farther right and towards the water. I think that again, for me as a golf fan, I like when they do that, when they have just slightly different hole positions, and it just changes it does change your approach by, I think, kind of a lot, honestly. You're not trying to park the short right position for that hole necessarily, because you probably are going to end up in the water. But yeah, so I agree. I think I do think I would prefer just a slight change in the basket location, but enough to like make it just a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, like hole 12. I think hole 12, it'd be really interesting if they would have, if they would move that like 30, 40 feet to the right. A lot of people like throw that flex shot where they want it to kind of unravel at the end, but maybe turn it into something where, no, you got to try to throw something that turns the whole way. So I think it does definitely, like you said, it like changes up your shots on par threes, obviously, but on your drives, maybe you want to be more on the left side of the fairway to give yourself better angle of attack. Like I love that. I love seeing people have to make decisions, because the more decisions you have to make, the more mistakes you'll make, and that's more exciting for people when people are like really having to lock in. All right. I know you said you have a hard out, so I do want to ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. This one's very interesting. Gary did a little digging and found out that with this win, you're now 7-0 in majors or Elite Series events where you enter the final round in the lead or tied for the lead. So you've never lost when you're in the lead or tied for the lead. What I mean,
that's wild. By the way, that's crazy. That's Tiger Woods crap right there.
The Kentucky Derby just happened, so I'm gonna throw a little horse thing at you. Like, are you a front runner? Like, is that what you are? Are you someone that once you get out in front, going into that final day, you're not gonna let anyone chase you down? And then,
I mean,
sorry,
go ahead.
The second part to that is also, do you also feel like if you're 2 or 3 back, you're not out of it?
The first part, apparently. So I am one of those people. But no, I think I don't know what it is. I think specifically when I'm in the lead, my mindset going into the final round is I'm acting like it's 0-0. I don't want to know. I obviously I know that I have a cushion, but I'm trying to trick my brain into thinking like it's 0-0. I'm just trying to win that round. So maybe that's just something that has led to that success when I am in the lead, because I'm not thinking about the cushion that I have. As crazy as it might sound, I mean, it is what it is. Even towards the end of the final round of the Champions Cup, I wasn't really quite sure what exactly was going on, because I was trying to just stay in my own lane and not thinking about like, oh, okay, I parred, she birdied, I birdied, whatever. I wasn't going back and forth like that in my brain, because it just, I don't know, it doesn't serve me well personally to do that. So I think that could be part of the reason that I find success when I'm in the lead. When I'm a couple back, I'm definitely not thinking I'm out of it. But obviously I'm going to always want to be in the lead now going into the final round, given my history, I suppose. Yeah.
All right. The final question I have for you is hole 18. Was that a game plan that you were like, hey, if I get into this spot down the road, like I can just chuck it OB left, and then it's just an easy pitch up play? Was that something that you had thought of previously, or is that something that you thought like on the spot, walking up to your disc in that scenario, knowing that a bogey there wins you the major?
Yeah, I don't know that it was my game plan. Like I was thinking of that scenario specifically, but in general, every single round, I was just like, don't make the mistake of going in the water. Right. 1, I'm probably going to lose a disc that I don't want to lose. And 2, it's the worst error to make on that hole. So I think in general, my game plan was like, just shy on the side of the left of the basket. If I have a 30-footer, great. I'm going to run it probably every day. If I have a 60-footer, then, I'll probably lay up. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily in my game plan. I just knew like I can't throw it in the water, no matter what round it was, no matter what the scenario was. I have to just err on the side of the left of the basket, and that's the right miss.
Were you trying to throw that in bounds on the final day?
Actually, I was, to be honest.
But like more like the 10 feet from the OB line, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. But the problem was we had a tough wind. It was right to left, pretty ripping wind. So it was going to be hard to keep it in bounds with my game plan of trying to end up left. So I would have either had to really hang it out over the water, which would be stupid, or just go OB left.
I thought you almost did like a, hey, souvenir, and just like chucked one into the crowd because you knew it didn't matter.
I should have yelled that. That would be
now, because obviously, I mean, that's in the rules. And I think everyone in that position should play that way. And if you don't, you're probably an idiot and you're probably not even close to winning if you don't play that way. But do you see a world where rules somehow need to change so that way, from a viewer standpoint, there's a little bit more drama coming down the stretch of like, Missy does have to complete this throw.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, even just thinking about that hole in general, I guess I'm not a forehand player, so maybe it makes more sense for people who throw forehands into that green. But, even just the inbounds area that they left leading up to the green was so small. I mean, no one's going to actually land there. That's more of just like a safety zone for if you're trying to just throw over that area. You're at least going to, carry that distance if you were to go be into the water on the right, say on a forehand or whatever. But maybe they could just make it a true island hole. I don't really know, and then force you to have to throw that kind of edge of the water, like drop zone shot to the island. If you go in the water, I don't know. I think they could certainly make it even more exciting than it already played. I think, but yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to have that cushion and be able to make that play. But I don't know. I like island holes. I don't know. I think it would be cool to have that as an island hole.
Yeah, my thought would, I think you go island hole because I'm with you. That little strip doesn't really mean much, and also it makes that shot a lot more in your head, just like it's an island. I guess that makes it a little tougher. But the way I would this is where I think either stroke and distance or whatever the bunker rule is, of where you force people to have to complete that throw, right? That to me, I think would make that hole even more. I mean, it's already an incredible hole, but to make it even next level is something along the lines of where, and there's a couple holes like this on the course that I have a little bit of it's this close to being great, of where, we talked about hole 13. There was multiple people that threw it in the water or threw it like short of the OB. Why are they advancing all the way up for a 40-foot putt for par? Like, to me, like, if you make that mistake, you should get punished. And so that's where I think that the final hole, that would be incredible if it's like, you got to throw this thing in bounds. It could be your second throw, your third attempt, but it's got to go in bounds. And I hate it because everyone's going to tell me, you can't do that because there's too many bad people that will never get on. And it's like, gosh, it's like the best players are getting dominated by the worst players because they can't do it. So we can't make the course the way it should be made. And it's like, maybe if you can't throw it on the island after 3 times, you lose your tour card. Maybe that's what we should. You can't throw a 250-foot
You're
shot.
off the tour. Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we need to start doing in the future. And so all these people that were worried about making courses better for the best players, but we aren't doing it for the worst players, you just lose your tour card. You can't play anymore. Go home. I'm sorry. All right, you've been great, Missy. Do you got any new pet peeves for us before we let you go?
Oh, shoot.
I know you're normally good with pet peeves.
I don't even know if I've shared this one yet. I don't remember. I only shared one with you guys a long time ago, but I think the one thing I think is funny is like, I don't know. For me, when I throw my tee shot, I always know when I'm out. I mean, obviously there's some scenarios where you don't, but like, if you don't know that you're going to be the next to throw, then I'm surprised by that. And also just like walk at a normal pace, especially if you are out. Just,
Yes.
get
Yes,
there.
Missy's on my slow walker pace, Yuli. That's what I'm talking about. Like you
And I have never
30
heard you
seconds.
say that, so I'm not just like, riding that. Yeah.
I love that. Hey, take all the time you want at your disc. I'm fine with it. Just don't take forever to get to your disc.
And then take all the time.
And then take all your time. That's what, like there's times where I'll throw a shot. I'm like, holy crap, I'm in a spot I've never thought I would be. I'm booking it off the tee because I'm trying to get there super fast so I can get a little bit more time to see what the heck I'm supposed to do. So yes, slow walkers, love that. Yuli, I mean, at this point, I don't really know if Missy really wants anyone else's game, but go ahead, Yuli.
No, we're not. It's not even.
Okay,
that.
it's not even
I
a
want
question.
Missy's game at this point.
All right. Go, Yuli. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say one of my favorite sayings is take all the time you want, just don't take my time.
I love that. All right, before we let you go, how many majors are we wrapping up our career at? We're at 2 now. What are we finishing? What's the number?
This year or just my career?
No.
My career?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Give us
like
something.
I don't know. Like what am I? 36. Let's do the math. Carry the one.
For some people, they would say that you're
25.
They would say you're retired. The idiots out there that think 36-year-olds can't play disc golf anymore.
I mean, I definitely feel it in my body, but I'm not giving up anything.
You're fine.
Soon.
You just want to make
I
it.
know.
You're fine.
I know. Yeah. Like what Yuli said. 25.
25. Quarter was that? A quarter of a century. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, Missy, it's always fun having you on. Appreciate you taking the time, and good luck the rest of the season. Thank you, guys. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point.
I hope so. Yeah, I think you will. Thank you, guys.
Shout out some stuff real quick before you go. Shout out some stuff. What do you got for the people?
Yeah. Be on the lookout for maybe a little pre-release type Captain's Thrasher special thing going. Just keep a lookout for that. And yeah, just thank you guys. Thank the Discraft, they're amazing, and all my other sponsors, Grip and Whale Sacks and Ledgestone. I'm doing this because you guys helped me do it. So I love what I'm doing. And yeah, anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate you.